Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Welcome back to the live stream. Where's the button?
Greetings, my excellent friend.
There it is. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is March 19, 2020. And we're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? Good morning. It is a little bit early. Elliot Brand is here. Good morning to you. Rope Blade. Hello. You have to work this early. Well, we all do a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Copper Beardy, how's it going? Mods
2005 just resubscribed for 22 months. Kitten sip C# heart C# clip C# shades.
Oh my gosh, welcome in, Mods. So good to see you. And we're going to make a donation as we do all quarter long. You saw me make that donation just the other day to code.org. So good time zone all. Yeah, there you go. Rope Blade, good to see you. Eagle Hanson's here. Hello. Just finished a project for work. Now it's time to enjoy some popcorn and watch Mr. Fritz. That's me. That's the thing I do here. Kabazi, hello there. And Curious Drive, hey yo, good to see you. Chandu, good morning, good afternoon, good to see you. Today's Thursday. It's the fourth and final day of MVP Summit. I've been working on that event all week long. Actually, I've been working on it for the past few months. And we got locked down, we got things set up and all ready to go. And then, of course, things changed because of the virus. We're on day 6 of lockdown here at the Fritz house. The wife and daughters are getting a little stir crazy. Just a little bit. So here's the thing with my webcam. Every time I reboot, it completely loses all of its settings, and I end up having to white balance and redo everything. And it ends up looking... I end up fighting with it every time. Every time. And I never get it right. It never looks the same. And I'm just sick of this camera because it will not white balance. And I'm okay with it having a lot of games. Tagaron!
24 months. It is now already 2 years.
Can you believe it? 2 years, Tagaron. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you very, very much. So then I can bump up the brightness there. It looks a little bit better, but we'll be over on the other soon enough. But yeah, this camera does not white balance. It doesn't auto color level at all. It's been... And every time I reboot, it's a different color setting that comes up. One death in Missouri to the virus. There you go. Got my Xbox hat on today. Need a little bit of fun, a little bit of game. So I figured I'd break out the Xbox C, and now it's not handling the green coming off of my green lights here. Oh, it's just dreadful. Let me see here. When you go to the dinner table in the squirrel suit that my family needs to worry. Yes, that's a thing. So, oh my goodness. There we go. So, good afternoon, everyone, whatever time zone you happen to live in. Hope you're all well and healthy. Yeah, absolutely. So, many of us have done all-nighters, absolutely. This is MVP Summit Week. Normally, I would be on site in Redmond, Washington, working on that, and obviously I'm not. So we're running everything virtually. We're running everything in 2 half tracks. So we're running four sessions in the morning, and then 4 sessions in the evening. But the thing is, it's morning and evening West Coast time. So I start working on Summit at 11 a.m. Eastern, and I run right through till about 3 p.m. Eastern. And I get right back on and start running it, managing it from 7 p.m. Eastern till 11 p.m. in the evening. So it is a very long day for me. And this is the way some of these virtual events are going to be, is dealing with and managing a little bit of this interaction back and forth between different time zones, different things like this. Curious Drive asks, how many MVPs are there in the world? I believe the number is about 5,000. I believe. In our category, in the developer technologies category, there's about I think the number is about 1,000, 800 to 1,000. So, how do you become an MVP? Another MVP or a Microsoft employee nominates you at mvp.microsoft.com. There's a nomination form there. It used to be wide open for anybody to nominate, and there were it felt like cities in China and India where everybody went on and nominated everybody else. And we literally had thousands of people nominated, and they had 0 credentials. Literally, I'm not even a software developer. Okay, that's a problem. Svava is here. What mischief indeed. Let me head over to the other view, and there's the better. See, this other camera is just, I literally have to white balance it every day, and it never comes out right. Thank you, Copperbeardy, for that link. Yeah, see, that looks a lot better. Auto white balancing on this camera, and it's a professional camera. It does a really nice job. This is my Sony Alpha 6000 that we're using over here. I'll get some music playing here in the background, and then we'll talk about our project, get into this. This is music to code by our friend Mr. Carl Franklin, scientifically designed, engineered to get you in the groove, get you in the flow, so that whatever task it is you're working on, you could focus and just get stuff done. Today, this is called Green. There we go. Yeah. So, you can get your copy at mtcb.pwop.com. execute the music command in the channel, and you can get information, get a link, click through and get your copy. Thank you so much, Carl, for letting us listen to your music and writing a little code together today. So yeah, the MVP award is pretty good. It's something that gives those folks who are influencers in the community. You've written books, you've produced videos, live streams, you've written some cool open source projects. Gives them a little bit more access to the Microsoft folks, so that and we give them a couple other benefits as well, including the MVP Summit, where we show a bunch of stuff that's going to be coming up at Build, stuff that we're planning over the next year that's we're hoping to accomplish. Get some feedback, and quite frankly, if the feedback is negative, we actually stop working on and we'll retool a product to make sure we get it right. It's effectively a super user case study. So a super user study where we show things off and make sure that MVPs, that folks that are going to use the product, think it's a good thing. So Chris Jones, hello. Greg, how's it going? So that's a little bit of what's going on there. We are at 9950 followers. Whew. 50 to go till we hit that magic 10,000 number, and we will set up for our 12-hour stream. Oh my gosh, that will be amazing. Next Friday, we're going to do an ASP.NET Core workshop here live. I'm updating the workshop to 3.1, and we will present it live here on stream. I need to save the date page for this. Twitch got rid of their events, so there's no way for me to promote this. I need to tweet this or put up a web page or something so that folks can save the date and they know this is coming. But 1 week from tomorrow, we're going to do the 12-hour, 10-hour, 8-hour. We're going to do a really long day of ASP.NET Core workshop training. And we have a guest next Thursday joining us for a stream then. And our friends from Madrinas, I'm trying to get them on the schedule here. Alex from Madrinas will be joining us either next week or early the week after. Our schedules are kind of skewed up here, but we're going to have the Madrinas folks joining us again for more coffee, fun, and hijinks. So that's what's on the schedule for the next 2 weeks. Of course, April 9th is Live Coders Conf. Make sure you check that out. There's a link to that just below here. Click save the date. The contents have all been selected. We were going to publish it. I don't know if it's been published yet. Hey Simon, good to see you. Kron Chris, glad you like the Xbox hat. Thank you Developers Garage for the host. So that's coming up April 9th. We have 14 sessions. All kinds of folks. All of them are live coders. Folks that are going to show off a whole bunch of different technologies. Scotty! Thank you so much for the cheer. Yeah, adding some value in there. I do need a schedule. So much going on. I should put some content just below us here so that you can see it and see what's going on. Because there's a lot there. I'm going to work on that after stream today. Definitely going to work on that. Get a schedule somewhere because, yeah, there's a lot of virtual events happening. Everybody is stuck at home in one way or another, and I want to make sure that you have access to great technical content, whether it's me presenting here with our regular live coding stream, maybe I have a guest on, or maybe we're doing a long-form workshop type of scenario. We're going to put a bunch of virtual content out there, live content, that you can learn from. Tell your friends, tell your families, tune in, tell your pets, get a Twitch account, sign up, click that heart button up top, click that follow button, and help us get to this 10,000 follower mark. And we're going to have a little bit of fun together as well. Lucky number 7.
Lucky no 7 Evan just resubscribed for 10 months.
Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the resub. Hey, NetJam Jr. Yeah, we'll do a live workshop here. And it's your opportunity. Now, you're not watching a video course on YouTube. You're not watching a video course on Wintellect now. You can watch those. I'm producing them. And they're really great if you want to just get through and get the material, be able to rewind, fast forward, all that stuff. But if you actually want to ask questions, if you want to learn with a group, if you want to use Visual Studio Live Share, be able to connect in and browse around the instructor's code as we're programming, join a live workshop. Be able to ask questions and get those immediate answers as you're following along. It's a lot of fun, and I hope to see you on Friday. Hey, Kate, we're doing well. We're doing quite well. Yep, the Live Coders team is nearly 24/7 streaming. You can find somebody at livecoders.dev streaming and teaching about technology just about all day long. I don't care what time zone you're in, where you're located, you're going to find somebody writing code live here on Twitch. Happy to work with you, answer questions, and get you to that next place. Might not be your discipline, right? Might be some game developers, and you might be a JavaScript developer. That's okay. It's folks that you can hang out with who have a passion for technology and are happy to hang out and have a good time here on Twitch. Is that Cuscoman? Welcome in. Hello. So there we go. There's the team page from Copperbeardy. So this is Minimal March. I call it Minimal March because we ran into this issue we saw in February where folks thought if you've got to be a .NET developer, you've got to be on Windows, you've got to be using Visual Studio, you need a big IDE, and that's the way you do .NET development, C# development, right? Well...
Wait, let me explain something to you.
That's wrong. Minimal March, we're on Linux, we're on the command line, we're using SDK, command line tools, we're using a plain text editor, and we're being productive. We're building with Blazor. It's the latest, greatest user interface framework that you can use that, right, composes from all kinds of components, and we're having a good time learning and building a series of components that help folks migrate their applications, build applications that look and feel good. Typical businessy web applications, forms over data types of applications. So I'm over here this is a Linux VM. Let me start tmux and let's get things set up here. I'm going to dip down into the project folder that we have here. These are the BlazorWebFormsComponents. There we go. Is it? See, I'm forgetting. There we go. And we're going to move this over here. Scoot that over. Come on, scoot over. Let me go into the same folder over here. There. I have a script over here that we're going to run that will watch and run all of our unit tests. There it goes. And I'm going to call this my dev window. Let's create another window. There we go. And over here, we'll run our... Hey, there we go. We'll run our sample web server here. I wish there was a way I could set this up, that it was in tmux, I could just get it, and it had my layout with the windows named the way that I wanted, right? Because I'd like to call this samples, so you know that I'm on my samples instance over here. I'm going to dip into the samples folder here, and I'm going to execute .NET watch run. This is going to watch my sample projects and run the web server. It'll restart the web server whenever there's a code change. That's what .NET Watch does. Hey, Flav, good to see you. This is Ubuntu Linux. Flav's another member of the Live Coders team. Good to see you. This up top we'll leave open so that we can jump right into any kind of code we need to write. Well, and then I'm going to navigate over there. So if I need to write some sample code, so we want to maybe take a look at how something works, we can write it up here in the top panel. All right, so I'll jump over to this one over here. I'm in the right folder. Let's go down into source and the project folder. All right, we've been working in Vim, which for somebody who typically works in Visual Studio 2019 feels weird to be in Vim. You know what I mean? A very plain text editor and having to work with all of very plain tools feels difficult, feels weird. But that's okay. We're learning. We're getting our way around here. Chris Coleman has a question here. Let me put this up in the chat room, in the featured chat, so we can answer this. There we go. I'd like to ask, what do I think is the best way to look for an entry-level job? Back-end, full stack, Ruby, TypeScript are Chris Coleman's skill set there. Technologies aren't the most important thing. Well, technologies are a pretty important thing. What you're choosing, what you're looking at, and what you're going to consider. How do you look for an entry-level job? So an entry-level job, you're going to find something that's around the naming of junior developer, right? Or even intern. Maybe you're still in college. Maybe you're still at university. You're going to want to find that job that is, those jobs that are labeled, they might not be labeled entry-level, but a junior developer. I'm assuming you have something in a resume, something in a CV. A curriculum vitae, right? That's what they call a CV. Maybe you have some open source code that's saved out there on a place like GitHub that folks can find and take a look at and browse around. Maybe you've got some, right, a sample project, something you worked on, a hobby, something that you wrote, something as simple as managing list of movies that you enjoy, or managing your coin collection. I don't know. Something that you can point to and folks might enjoy. Thank you for the tacos, Marcus. Trying to help out our sentiment over there in the middle of the screen. So look for those entry-level junior developer jobs as the key words that you're going to be looking for. Don't look for sales developer or senior developer, right? You're gonna, if you want an entry-level job, you're looking for something that says something like junior developer. And there's typically places that are looking for them. You'll find a lot of folks that are looking for somebody that can bring in an entry level and write some of the simpler pages, some of the simpler forms inside of an application that just need to be done. And you'll get into that repetition of building those simple screens that the senior developers, that the architects, they don't want to focus on. They want to be building some other things that are the higher level business logic or how communications happen between systems. But I would look for those keywords in job listings around junior developer. Simon says, know that feeling of trying something you're not used to regarding minimal March like we're doing here. Had to do some Ruby to get the Jekyll site customized. Oh my goodness. Very weird after being used to C#, Angular, and Blazor to be dipping into Ruby. Yeah. Kate says, I never understand why there's a Vim button, but no vigor. A Vim but no vigor. Come on now. Though it can make a portfolio for free. Building up a few examples of what you can do on GitHub. Yes. We'll make a prospective hire a lot more visible. Folks will be able to see, here's something that you've done, and to put it on your GitHub. It's free, it's open source. Put code out there and folks can find it and learn a little bit about some of the things you've built. iWatcher says, right now is a really bad time to look for junior positions. Right now is a really bad time to be looking for a job. It just is, unfortunately. A place where they'll mentor you. That's another good point, Eagle. Yes. All right, let's get into this. These are our Blazor Web Forms components. Let me give you the link to these. I'll even put it into a project command for us. Working on the form component today. I've got a little post-nasal trip that's been bothering me. I get it with the allergies this time of year. All right. So there's a couple pull requests here. Let's take a look. And it looks like there's a little more chatter on this one, the grid view tests. Gareth says, very interesting issue highlighting the complexity of column ordering, both implied and explicitly set by attributes. Yeah. See this commit where I've applied a display attribute for ordering the customer object. The code that manages column ordering is truly mind-boggling. It is. and illustrates the breadth of resources that must have been applied to provide such feature-rich products like web forms. You're not wrong. Let's take a look. So, complexity of column order. Right, so let's talk about what's going on here. Inside of the old web forms technology that we had from ASP.NET, going back to 2001, 2002, you could have classes like this in C#, and you would put a display attribute, right? That's what these things are called that you see on line 17, 13, 10. These are, right, it defines, this is the label that goes with this property. And there's an order that goes with it that says, this is the order that I want these things to appear. Now, the actual grid in this case, right? You see this is the grid view control sample that Gareth was working on, would allow you to use these attributes to force the order of these attributes appearing in the grid when you would say just auto-generate the columns, and it would put these in that order. Not just in that order, but whatever the display name is. You see here it says, for company name it says company. That would be the header, the label that you'd find in the header. Pardon me. So Gareth's right. A component like the grid view is really complex. It's really complex, and it's very feature rich because you're able to take just a class like this and say, put a bunch of these on the grid, and it would auto-generate and put the column headers and the content on the page the way that you wanted. So, a little bit of work that we're going to be doing here to make this complete. And it looks like Gareth is working on a little bit of this right now. So I'm not going to interfere with the work that he's doing over here with the grid view and interacting with that. Hey Flav, thank you so much for the host. You realized as soon as I hit enter that it was probably just being a standard Windows lad. It's okay. So, pardon me. All right. So there's a bunch of things that we've been working on. We've been working through here. We'll take a look at this one another day. Chris says that this is working for the pull request that he has for that, so we can take a look at that. I think we have this fixed now, but I'm going to leave it out here. Occasionally, the order of those headers when we auto-generate appears in the wrong order. It changes from test to test. I clicked into the wrong area. But we do need a few more unit tests for our grid view to examine how it generates columns, make sure that it generates those appropriately. And we'll dip in and we'll show a little bit of how that works. But we've been working on, particularly, and it's going to sound stupid, we've been working on a button. And it's a button that's a little bit more full-featured than just here's a button you can press on a page, and it submits. Sometimes you have buttons that have a command, and they're going to pass that command, that little block of text, that little bit of information about this is the button that was pressed. They're going to pass to another component, and that component is going to react appropriately because it saw that the edit button was pressed or the cancel button was pressed. And in web forms, this feature was supported through something called a command name and a command argument. So that would cascade, would bubble out through the hierarchy, and it would trigger different things when that button was embedded within other components. So yeah, button pressed and things happen, and we move on. We just trigger and do things.
Totes my goats.
That's right. Totes my goats. We're gonna make other things happen. So our button triggers and does that, and I can show you. That button. Well, let me show you just right. The source code that it emits is very simple. Button on click, click. And also we walked through and we figured out how to wire up this on client click, which looks weird. The @on click markup that you see here says execute this C# code, execute this C# click method. The on client click is a little bit of how how it used to interact with JavaScript. But the challenge is, of course, we know on-click on button is a JavaScript handler. On-click on an HTML button, that's JavaScript. But .NET intercepts that and says, oh, I know what this is. I'm going to make that a thing and interact with it. Well, so we get kind of confused. In this case, we're going to emit the on-client click and wire that up if that attribute is delivered on a button so that it becomes a JavaScript click method. So on-client click, what you see here, if that's some JavaScript that's been set, we'll wire that up appropriately when this button is rendered. Makes sense. Not too bad. Pretty easy to see, but it's not, the features aren't all here, right? And if we look at how, that's not right. No. If we look at how this is being rendered, we've really focused on just the interaction, the clicking on the button and having it do something. Well, that's fine, but we need to also wire up all the styling and all the other things that you do to a button. And for right now, just to get this out the door, to move on back over to the form view, I'm going to create a new issue here for adding those other button features. So that if somebody wants to come along and work on this, finish implementing the button features, button component features. Right? That's how you spell that. And I'm going to put this out there as an enhancement. It's a good first issue if somebody would like to take a look at it, because we've already got a little bit of a template. We've already got some helper features out here that define how this works, how we can wire up some of these things. So if somebody wants to, because this entire thing is open source, if somebody wants to grab this feature and be able to, there we go, there's the button, and write a little bit with it, and I don't have any code to go with the documentation here. Did I put it down in the, over here? No. So let's grab some documentation to go with that. Docs, Microsoft com, that's web button. And we should get, there it is, the button class. So this is the original documentation about the button. And let's just edit it right here. We're implementing a button feature, but we need to activate other features that were once present in web forms. Original web forms documentation is at, and there's that. And it does properly link that. Good. Let's provide the markup. Where's the markup? There's usually a markup sample with this. There it was. Declarative syntax. There we go. Look at all that. Look at all that. Those are all the things you can set. And some of these are style things that we actually have the ability to light up pretty quickly here. We've got child features that will do this. But the web forms syntax, I'll just paste that in here, and now folks will be able to see what that syntax is. So we need to basically wire up, it looks like styling, causes validation. We're going to need to connect that feature at some point. These event handlers we've already got wired up. Postback URL we're going to end up ignoring. Skin we ignore, we already have that implemented. But it's really the styling features and the on-submit behavior. So just doing a quick pass here, chat room. Help me verify this. I need to wire up the styling. Enabled, I need to wire up enabled. But causes validation and on submit behavior validation group. I think those are the three things that we need to wire up. I should also add, I've been typically adding a section here that says Blazor features supported, I think is what it reads. On click, event handler, we have supported. On client click, JavaScript pointer, right? That's a job. And on command, event handler with bubbling, with event bubbling. Okay. Just so folks can see, here are the things that we've built. So we'll just commit that, and now we've got a little bit more documentation over here. So I'm going to add into the issue we were creating button style attributes. This feels like an implementation with we have a interface called iHasStyle that you can use. Causes validation attribute. We need to implement that. It was validation group. Was that enabled? Right. And by using this notation, dash space left bracket right bracket, it's going to turn this into a checklist. So folks who want to work on this can go down and check them as they've completed them and create a pull request appropriately. Pointing over here. Causes validation enabled. What was the other one down here? Use submit behavior. I forget what that does, but yes, that thing. And we'll put that over here. Use submit behavior attribute. There we go. All right. So those couple features need to be completed, and you can find this. I'll share that link into the chat room. There we go. Curious Drive has a question here. Let me share Curious Drive's question. When I create a new Blazor Server app with Authentication turned on, Visual Studio creates a template with login, register, and profile pages for me. But these are Razor pages, right? Do you see the .NET team generating them as Razor components in the future? I can tell you that the team definitely sees security, how we do security with Blazor applications, as something that isn't implemented very well in the templates, and we want to improve that. We want to make it easier to do those things, and you see the Razor components that are built for, it's not even Razor components, right? The Razor class library that's built for Razor page applications with ASP.NET Core works very nicely, so you get some reuse and you can extract, customize those templates and reference them. I think there's an opportunity there for it, for those things. I think there's things happening, other things happening with security and Blazor components that you're going to see coming up here in the next few months, because like Curious Drive is pointing out here, there's a room for a lot of improvement there. You can see exactly what they're working on. Of course, in the ASP.NET organization here on GitHub, they're open and they're transparent about what they're working on. They keep a little bit close to the vest some of their plans for the next 6 months, the next year, exactly what they're working on, where they're going with that. But typically, they're pretty open about what's going on over the next 6 months, and you're going to see they are working on some security things, but actually implementing them as Razor components, I'm not sure. It's a good question, but it definitely feels like something that needs improving. You're right. Okay, so let me get over. Let's actually start writing some code now. We've got this button completed for now. So I'm going to put together a pull request, and I'm going to merge into that dev branch. Here we go. So yeah, we've got a lot of things in here that I'm I'm going to squash and merge into a single feature button, a single button component. And I will just call this button component minimum MVP, right? Supports the click. That's not how you spell click. On client click and on command features of the button. Okay, create that pull request, and we'll squash and merge it in so that all of these turn into a single merge over there. And there we go. I'll squash and merge. Button component MVP, and it's putting all the things in here. Elliot Brand
just gifted 5 subs.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Elliot. 5 gift subs into the channel. Just a Viewer, Voigtkamp Phil, Dax, Live Coding, and Jordy. Congratulations. You all just got gift subscriptions from our friend Elliot Brand. And we're going to make 5 donations to code.org. That's going to help kids in schools get technology on their curriculum so they can learn and be and get exposed to technology. Learn that magic that we as developers see when we write code. Thank you so much for those gift subs, and I'm happy to pay it forward with a donation to code.org. Thank you very much, Elliot. So let's see. I'm going to delete a bunch of things here. I'll delete those so we get a little bit of information as to what is actually working here. Added cascading parent. That was done. We don't need these remove things. Yep. I do want to include that co-author note. Update. I don't think I need all of those. I think I can just leave the co-authored by. There's Eagle. Okay, yeah. Don't need that. Don't need that. Did we do that? I guess we did that in here. Alright. Completed button command event bubbling. Updated. I will get rid of this. Lots of co-authored by. I can get rid of the other co-authored by up here then. And this. Oh, rats. Too many. Cool. Squash and merge. There we go. So all of that is merged in now. And it did give me a check that appropriately reflects that, yes, it did build. And I'm going to delete the feature button branch. I don't need this anymore. I'm not going to be working on the button here. We might come back and work on it later. But now we have that updated in our dev repository. So we can work on it. Hey, Frank! Good morning. And Frago is here. Hello, hello. Welcome in. It's good to be writing some code with you early in the morning here. So I'm going to go back over to the form component that we were working on previously, and we'll take a look at that. So I'm going to go down here to docs, and I'm actually going to change branches here. So this is a FormView component right here, and the idea with the form is you have this form that has buttons on it that allows you to view some data in a standard format that is more than just a grid, right? Maybe it's a data entry form that you're presenting, and you want an edit button at the bottom that turns it into edit mode. And this is where we're going to have our button have a command that says on edit, that says, edit, and it'll trigger and send that command up, and the form will appropriately flip over and turn into edit mode. And that's what we're going to implement right now. Okay? Why and why am I doing this? Why am I the one to do this? Well, let me tell you.
But what I do have
There's Liam.
Are a very particular set of skills.
I've got a very particular set of skills.
I've acquired over a very long career.
Very long career here writing code live on Twitch, and we're going to write some forms with some HTML in the Blazor. All right. And what I do know is I will find the code. I will fix the bugs, and I will kill it. No, I'm not going to kill it. So we were working through this branch. This is feature FormView. So let me head back over to my terminal. I'm going to check out, do I have? Well, let me go over to the dev branch. Let's start there. Pull in the changes, and I will delete my feature button branch. Right, git branch -d feature, and I should be able to, that branch is gone because I've just pulled in everything you can see here. What branches do I have locally? I don't have it. I'm going to delete, I'm also going to delete that branch from Julio. I'm going to delete, let's clean up that other branch there from Space Shot. There we go. I can do a git branch -r, and it'll show me the remote branches that are available. We're going to grab, now feature button should not be there anymore.
Oh my.
I know. It should have trimmed it. So what I'm going to do is, I can say, is it git branch? I think that's what I can do. Track, and we're going to create a branch to track feature FormView. There we go. So now I have that branch available to me. And let's check out that. And I'm going to merge dev into this so it gets all those updates. And, uh-oh. We're going to have to merge. Not bad. We're not seeing too many bad things here. Fortunately, right, we have these CS_proj files that we're going to have to merge, right? And those are the project files that are used by .NET to manage all the references and things that it needs to compile with. So we're going to merge those, and those aren't too bad. The new project file format is actually kind of simple, so we'll take a look at those and get those merged. And we have default ASPX that we're going to have to merge. But the one of these is the web forms one. Look at that right there. Right, this one. That one's going to be a bear to merge. I'm not looking forward to that. Thank you for the follow. Patrick Starr, welcome in. Hello. I see you there in the chat room. Thanks so much for tuning in. And that Zach Davis is here as well. Not a bad impression at first. Not a bad impression. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Listen, this can be done exactly the way that I want it to. I can make the impressions that I want to because
It can be done exactly how I want it.
it can.
The only question is, are you the man to do it?
Darn Skippy, I'm the man to do it. Can I get some darn Skippies in the chat room there? Friends, let me tell you, we're gonna get this done. Let's see here. So what am I? Let's take a look. We'll do a git status. There, we've got this CS_proj file we're gonna have to take a look at, and default ASPX. That makes me sad. That's gonna be annoying. No, not darn Skippy's Curious Drive. There's Eternal Dev Coder. Get a little bit of peanut butter flying on the screen. Right? That's Kappa Chandu. Not quite the same. Let me go over to that samples project and let's see if we can fix this up real quick. Hopefully it's real quick. Maybe. I don't know. All right, we'll figure it out. So let's take a look at the default. See what's going on over here. So this is standard web forms, and we've got, well, this doesn't look too bad, because we've got grid view and form view here, and the one has the update to include the link to form view samples, the other has the link to grid view samples. We actually want to keep both. So I'm going to keep both. So we have links to both sets of samples. Let's see, are there any other conflicts here? Nope. Looks like the only one. I will take that. And let's add default. So we're ready to commit that. The other one is the CS proj, and oh man, merging a CS proj is not typically easy. Maybe we'll get lucky on this one and we won't have too much to change. It's going to be easy because just like we had in the other one, we've got to change to include the FormView sample you see here between, this is the head version of things right here on line 115, and we have the grid view samples here on lines 117 through 119. I actually want both sets, so I'm going to include both sets. Were there any other changes? There were. Oh boy. We might want both here as well, because here, these are references to the C# files for the FormView. I want that. And these are the C# files for the grid view. The problem... the problem that I'm seeing here is... Yeah. See this? It saw the subtype was copied there, and it left it twice, and it didn't put a compile with it. This is going to be dicey. So it's improper XML right here. So I need to add a / compile so that element is closed. Yeah, see, it ended before that final / compile. I'm going to get rid of that. We might be okay now. Here's the best part. I'm on Linux. That's a Windows file that needs to be configured. I can't tell if it works. Merged from dev. We'll figure out and we'll test that some other time. I'm going to push these changes up. So we have our FormView branch all merged in over here. Let's rerun our test. What do you mean there's no such file or directory? Of course there is. See that? There it goes. Alright, now it's running my tests live, and if we go back over to the other branch, it's still running my samples. So let's go to localhost 5001 inside of our browser and see what we've got. That should still work, should still show. There we go. And I have a grid view here. I don't have a link off to FormView yet. I don't have grid view on the side here. So I'd like to update these samples here with a little bit of notation so it's easier to find and navigate through the different samples that we have here. And we also don't have the footer running over here. We're going to need that brought back in as well. So the form view, I have a simple read-only form that appears here with a little bit of paging. It's a very simple pager. And that's okay to start. We're still developing here. We're still building this out. So let me add the grid view entries over here on the tree. And I think we also want to add. I also want to reach over to the sample deployment project and bring in the footer so you can get that footer that appears as well. Those are two features from the samples that I want to make sure are consistent and when we deploy get delivered. I see a couple comments here in the chat room. Let me take a look over here. Evan Weeks says, "Oh, this is a common thing that I hear from folks. I wish my colleagues at work." Let me put this up on featured chat, just so other people can see. I wish my colleagues at work were jazzed at all about coding. They're all programmers by happenstance, not programmers by choice or by inclination. Thank you. I was trying to find the button to press that. Thank you, Evan. This is interesting, and this is definitely the difference between somebody who loves their job and somebody who does their job. Two different things. right? People who are not programmers by choice, who are programmers because they just kind of fell into that, they don't stick around after work to talk about latest technology things. They're not intrigued. They're not going to go after and you know, be jazzed, be excited about the latest things that are happening. Hey, check out the cool new framework X. Did you see the video that was released from Microsoft about new framework Y? Oh my gosh, there's a new version of Visual Studio coming out. There's some really cool things in there we could really take advantage of. And these folks they're not interested. It's frustrating, and I think it's up to us and I'm including myself in this because I'm very much somebody who's excited about programming, somebody who sees programming, coding, technology as more than just a job, but as something that makes me happy, something that I enjoy, and quite frankly, as a hobby as well. And I say to folks who aren't interested in that, that's okay that they're not, but I'm going to make sure that my enthusiasm for technology is contagious. Right? I'm going to share when those exciting things happen. And if they're not jumping in and excited about it, I'm going to be even more enthusiastic. Oh my gosh, it is so cool that we're getting the new version of Visual Studio installed next week. It is really great stuff over there that we're going to be able to use and check out. And Visual Studio Code, oh my gosh, you know what? There were folks talking about this really cool new extension for it that's going to make our job so much easier. You got to check it out. I installed it. I have it over here on my machine. It made my work that I was doing this morning so much easier. We're going to be able to template this. We're going to be able to automate that. And gosh, I really like that I'm able to do my job faster because I got this great new feature. Maybe there's something we can contribute back to that to add the things that we need and make that better. Be contagious about that. No, Eternal Dev Coder, there isn't. I'm role playing here, if you will. Visual Studio Code Live Share, there's a great new feature there, right? Curious Drive, that right, folks can share their code and collaborate the same way that you do with documents on whether it's Google Docs or Office Online, Microsoft Office Online, and be able to see those little tape flags, right? Where somebody's name is, where their cursor is, and how they're editing documents. You can use Live Share, and inside of your editor, get that same experience while you're working on applications, while you're working on code together. Really, really cool stuff that you can use over there. To help those folks is exactly why Microsoft needs to make OpenID Connect security just works out of the box one day. Simon, take a look over in the ASP.NET repository. I did not enjoy developing when I had RSI, repetitive stress, right? Repetitive stress, that's what you're talking about, right? Using the keyboard and mouse, but now it's better by voice. Oh, very cool, Marcus. That's very cool to share. Some write code because they were dragged kicking and screaming into the career field because they happened to be standing in the right or wrong spot. They happen to be an expert at this one business process, and someone said, "You're smart, be an engineer and write code for this." Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. Visual Studio Code Online is mind-boggling. Well, it's not mind-bottling, so that's a thing. We made sure we got that. But Visual Studio Code Online is definitely something that folks... the Visual Studio Online is the product name. Definitely something that folks need to check out. There's capabilities there that are going to make access to development a heck of a lot easier for folks. Microsoft did a great job driving platform security, so Windows Server, SQL Server were secured out of the box. Time to do the same for apps and templates in Visual Studio. Simon, check out the ASP.NET repository. Frank thinks we must also accept that others could have other hobbies and still like their job. Absolutely. But it's okay to be enthusiastic and share your enthusiasm about some of the cool things that are happening with them. And it's okay that they're not jazzed and excited about programming. Let them do their thing. That's okay. Kate started coding because I think procedurally. Oh, you think procedurally. So it makes sense. The code is a lot more declarative these days, so you're getting a bit out of your comfort zone. Kate, it sounds like you might be more comfortable with a functional programming language like F#, where some of that procedural thinking functionally might work well together. And Patrick Starr chimes in saying, I enjoy coding, but I can't understand why I sit behind a computer and code when I can play Apex Legends. Well, that's true. You could do that, right? And Apex Legends, tremendous game. But here's the thing. Have you tried writing games? There's a tremendous independent game market out there. Folks that are looking for independent game developers. And some of those folks that build good independent games, their games get acquired by bigger studios. And that's a good payday. It doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't happen quickly. There's a bit of a struggle to it. But you build a good game, and bigger studios take notice, and they want that. So there's definitely something there. Apex Legends is more fun than coding. Sure. But there's also something to be said for folks that write their own games. They really enjoy doing that. My friends Sushi Codes and Sausage Cam, they code together over on the Sushi Codes stream. And they're a married couple, and they have a good time building games together live on Twitch. Lana Lux, there's another good one, Curious Drive. She's a member of the Live Coders team, just like Sushi Codes, just like Sausage Cam. And they're building games and having fun talking to viewers and showing how they build games live on Twitch. And there's definitely, of course, space to play a little Apex Legends along the way. So first, let me consolidate. Let me get this sample built out a little bit further with some of those other things. And let's reflect in and not reflect in. Let's dive in and see if we can get that FormView changing modes for us from read-only mode to edit mode. So that's what I want to focus on here for the next little bit of coding here. A little bit. Sure. All right, so I'm going to change over to this view. I'll jump over to this side because I'm gonna do a little bit of merging here. Let's take a look at our branches. Sample deployment is where I'm going to go. So let me take a look over in that branch. Make sure I have the latest over here for this. Good. Now my samples are sitting inside of the after Blazor server side. So I wonder if I can, I don't want to check out, but I want to merge those features. Marco, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let me see here. So let's, how should I best do this? Because I'd like to merge those things, but I don't want to merge the entire branch here. Right? Yeah, see, I don't see the marker here for the dev branch. Let's do this. What if we merge dev here? Okay, we've only got 2 conflicts. And it's in the navigation menu, and it's in the host. So let's see if we can resolve those, and maybe we can just merge this sample deployment back and work on that. Hey Marco, we're merging our samples that we were working on, and we're going to work on our FormView today. So we've got a couple of branches here, cleaning them up. Little source code hygiene, if you will, right?
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Evil. And we'll see what we can do to make this a little bit cleaner. Okay, so host and nav menu razor. Okay. So I'm going to go down to Georgia. No. I was looking for a soul to steal. No. All right, so let's take a look at host CSHTML. So this is the host page that defines the layout that our Blazor components work in. And you see here there's this app element here. I want to hold down Shift and highlight. I'm such a Visual Studio person. But But this is where our Blazor component gets rendered, is inside of these two tags. Just like you might see an Angular application, right? Because you have a directive or view application you specify. Here's where I want it to land. But down here, there's our head marker that shows the beginning of where there's the conflict. And the changeover is right down there. So we actually want to include a little bit of both of these. So this is the footer we want to include, and it includes a pointer to the version. That's okay. We want to keep that footer. And we don't need that extra bit there, and we'll tab that over. Looks good. I think that's all that I need here, right? What do you think, chat room?
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
No, don't.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I'm quite right, actually. Okay. I'm trying to get access to more of my buttons, but I've got coffee in front of my Stream Decks. I run with 4 Stream Decks on my setup, which is kind of crazy. Any other streamer will tell you that I'm nuts, and I am. Just a viewer asks, is the host file... Let me show you here. Let me put this up. Is the host file just a shared partial view? No. The host file, think of as a wrapper, right? It's the page that you actually load, and you'll see this in single-page applications. It's that HTML page that you'll load that has all of the content, has all the stuff to bootstrap the application. So in this case, when we take a look at the host file, see it has the HTML headers there, and it's got, right, all the things with our style sheets, that directive for the app, so it knows here's where you're going to place the Blazor application between 19 and 21 right here. Okay. I've got my error user interface that'll be shown if there's an error here on lines 23 through 32. So it's always there and available to me. And the footer that I want tacked to the bottom of the page, right? This is the outer framework around the rest of my application. It's not the layout, but it's all those static HTML things. Cool. Glad I could take a second and explain that to you. Thank you so much for that question. So it is usable on Linux. It's very usable on Linux, Marco. Absolutely. We've been using Vim here on Linux with Blazor, .NET Core development, C# building and writing some code here, and it runs great. Frank says, make sure you wash your code for 20 minutes to avoid the virus, right? Right, Frank? No, wait, wrong button. No. I meant this. That's what I meant. Let me see here. What do I think of the Bills yesterday chat on the Reddit about COVID? I didn't see that, Marco. I don't typically read Reddit. I find Reddit to be quite nasty. The Reddit community is they're not very welcoming. So Simon says, tip for Git to save me some time. Oh, please. If I do a git fetch -p -v git checkout name of branch fetch line will clean up my local branches for me and get info on server branches so that the checkout line will know how to set up the remote for you by convention, saving you from having to create. You're kind of confusing me. Maybe it's the formatting here. I need to take a look at, give that a try, Simon. I think I'm missing something there. Yeah, it is rubbish for formatting code. Eagle says, isn't the hosts file a Razor page? In this case, this is a Razor page. For this circumstance, because this runs Blazor server side, it has a little bit of extra code in here that we want to render with the ASP.NET server side renderer. So that's why you see a little bit in here around startup component version.revision right here on line 38, because it's going to insert some extra information in there. It's going to do some processing server side before it serves it. Now that's okay. We'll have a long output cache on this, and it won't be re-rendering it every time because all the things that are here are pretty static once the site's been deployed. What you'll see in a Blazor client-side application, that's Blazor that runs with WebAssembly, native code that executes in the browser, not JavaScript. You'll see that has a static HTML page that it serves that has these HTML pointers. It looks almost identical, except instead of referencing and using some of these things server side, it does it all on the client side in WebAssembly. Git checkout branch name, yes. Can Rust be used in place of C++ or C#? Sure. Rust can be used. Rust doesn't have, I don't think Rust can be compiled and used in all the places that you can use C#. You can use C# to not just build web applications that run client side in the browser, server side on the cloud. You can build desktop applications with it. You can build console applications with C#. You can build mobile applications for iPhone and Android with C#. You can build IoT device instructions with C#. Tremendous flexibility. C#'s like an American Express card. It's everywhere you want to be. I don't think Rust will run on the mobile devices. Folks do have Rust, I believe, working client side in the browser. They have it working server side. So different things for different folks. I could also use VS Code on Linux. I could, Marco. But the point that we're showing here with this minimal March theme is that we can use just a text editor and use the command line and still have great productivity. There we go. So git fetch-p-v is what Simon is suggesting. Okay. Fall In says, I apologize for the tactlessness. No. You're going crazy about Razor pages not being pre-rendered after saving it. What's the tip in case you need to save just a static HTML and doesn't make the app reload? So you can put static HTML inside the www root folder of your application. Let me show that real quick to answer Fall In's question. And that's not, and please, Fall In and anybody else there in the chat room, you're welcome to ask questions all the time here, and we'll pick and choose when to answer them appropriately. But when I'm at a good pause point in between things, we'll discuss those. Yes, www root. That takes a long time to say. So to just say www root is a little bit quicker. So when you... I'm not inside my Linux machine. Here we go. So if I open up NerdTree here, when you build an ASP.NET application, ASP.NET Core application, you can build and place C# files anywhere you'd like inside of the application. You can create whatever folders you'd like, but there's always this www root folder. The contents of that are static. Anything that's in here, the web server isn't going to interpret. It's going to serve directly. So you can create whatever folder structure you'd like inside of this folder, place whatever static HTML that you'd like in there, and it will just serve those directly and not attempt to render them. So that's one thing that you can do. The other thing that you can do, Fall In, is if you do want to write CSHTML and you want it to render and output cache it so it's not re-rendering it each time, you can add an output cache, I believe it's an attribute with Razor pages, to the top of the page. Let me see if I can grab that documentation here real quick. Docs, Microsoft.com. We're going to look for ASP.NET Core and output cache. And let's just look for output cache. Response caching in ASP.NET Core. Here we go. So you can use this to cache based on a whole bunch of different parameters. You can have it vary by different query string parameters that are passed in, but you can place a response cache attribute. They changed it. It was output cache in the old version of ASP.NET. You can place that on a page model. I believe there's a way you can put it as a directive at the top of a Razor page. I don't see it. You can specify how long the cache is, all kinds of things that you can do. Check out It's a response cache here. I thought there was, there's the middleware. There's a tag helper you can use. So you can say cache this block of a page. I thought there was a response cache attribute you could put up at the top. Duke Twitch says all the resulting files from Angular or React, they will go into that www root folder. If you're mixing the two, you would place them there. You're right. You're right, Duke Twitch. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, a lot of folks do like to build and use ASP.NET and use the APIs that you can build there for server-side APIs to interact with a client-side JavaScript application. Yep, and React, Angular, Vue, place all that static JavaScript that's going to be rendered once, not even rendered, just delivered right into the browser. Place it in that www root folder, and it'll be served directly without the interpreter trying to do something with it. I thought there was a way to, and I don't see it here. Let me back up. Not response caching. Response caching middleware, cache tag helper, output caching. That looks like it's an old one. It is. Output cache, and I want to say Razor page. So there's a way to do this with Razor pages. I don't want to use the cache tag helper. So what the cache tag helper does is, right, this looks like a tag that would use in ASP.NET or in HTML. But of course, there is no cache HTML tag. Whatever's inside of it will be cached by the server. So that's kind of cool, and you can turn it on and off, and when it expires, all kinds of attributes that you can put on that. But I thought there was a way to use a directive at the top of the page to force the entire page to be cached. Now I don't see it here. I'd have to do a little bit more searching for that to find it. But take a look. It should be. It's either. I thought it was at output cache that you could use. I thought, or not. Thanks for the search there. You okay? So take a look. There's response cache will definitely get you there. Electro HX says, saw my video, Blazor for web form and C# developers, where I talk about similarities and differences between web forms and Blazor. You have a question about this? Absolutely. No, actually, that's exactly the project that we're working on right now, is around, we're building some things to do Blazor for web forms developers. Give me 1 second. Let me do this merge real quick, and I'll come back to your question. Okay, I'm in the middle of this merge. I'm going to queue up your question there, Electro. Just because I'm like interrupted by 2 or 3 questions. Let me just do this merge real quick, and we'll get back over there to your question. Did I save this? I thought I saved this, didn't I? Okay. So that was host. So I'm going to add host. And the nav menu we need to fix. All right, so let's not. I keep doing that. I misplace my fingers. Right. Shared. Let's take a look at the nav menu. See if we can. Oh, it's got those stupid. This is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's the grid view right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. I'm going to go down here to the bottom because I'm going to delete the whole top. I'm going to get rid of those. And grid view was just above list view. Where was grid view? Yeah, just above the list view. So let me go to, here's the list view in the tree, and I'm going to place it right there. Okay. And let me get rid of the marker at the end here. Right. And yeah, there we go. Get rid of those. And let me put an end tree node here. All right. And I'm going to delete the entire top half. It goes down to line 102. There we go. And I'll delete that marker. Go down to the end, and I'll delete this marker. And I think we've got it. Not gut. Git add shared nav menu. And we will commit these changes. Merged from dev. And we've got the dev branch now merged here. Fantastic. I'm going to push up those changes, which is actually going to trigger a build and a redeploy. So let me take a look at Electro's question here. At work, we have an app built in web forms that is a gigantic, probably 150 plus ASPX pages. That's not gigantic. That's big, but that's not gigantic. So there's folks with really big applications, but point understood. It's big. It's a lot of code to manage. So to rewrite this in Blazor is going to take a pretty long time. Amen. Is there any way to like host the Blazor version alongside the existing and get them to work together and then swap out the old piece by piece with the new? Similar to how, and I hear that and I think that's similar to how we slowly started adding MVC into web forms applications while we did that conversion. Or what would you suggest us to do? This is Electro. You came to the right place. Let me tell you. My goodness, that is exactly what you should do. Let me tell you though, it's
Take it one step at a time. Identify the problem. Fix it.
and no, that's not what you should do. Let's talk about this. So Electro, this is exactly the project that we're working on here. This is let me see, is it running? Let me make sure. That's no, over here. This is what happens when I've got too many windows open across too many operating systems. Let me jump over to here. Yep, it is working. So let me refresh. There we go. And it's got my little footer on there. It's got the proper stuff on the side. Fantastic. My FormView isn't merged in here. Yeah, because I'm on a different branch. So what we've been doing is we're building components in Blazor that mimic what you're doing in web forms. They're not perfect. We're getting there. We're getting folks contributing and helping out. And Electro, I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the challenging things that you have configured. Something that's a little bit more interesting than just having a couple controls on a page that we might need to be able to support. But these components will run and generate and interact with your HTML so that you can move your code out into a class library, into a .NET Standard library, so that it can migrate to .NET Core. But to the question of can we migrate pieces to the other format, it is possible, and this is something that I think would be a really good exercise to do at some point. It is possible to run ASP.NET Core on IIS. You're already on IIS, the Internet Information Server that runs on Windows because you're running with web forms. Web forms only runs on Windows on the Windows web server IIS. So what you can do is you can run ASP.NET Core applications for a specific folder, and it does get deployed and activated for that folder using webconfig. Do you see where I'm going? It is possible to take a folder and say this folder is an ASP.NET Core application. If it's an ASP.NET Core application, you could run Blazor server side in that application. So what I know you can do, but I haven't prototyped, is I know you can take, and maybe this is something that we put in as a sample to go along with this project, is if you could take a web forms application, and you've probably got different folders for things, right? Maybe you've got, is there a way to vote for features? Mobabo, let me come back to that. That's a very good question. And yeah, let's talk about that. I really like that question, Mobabo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let me come back to that in just a second. But I think what would be a good strategy, and like I said, I need to to prototype this so that I can be sure that it works would be in your application, you've probably got, maybe you've got an accounting section and you've got an admin section, you've got a customers or a product section. Whatever your application might be, right? If I'm thinking of the typical storefront, right, prototype use case that you see applications built, right? Maybe you're able to take just the admin section or just the customer or order management series of pages, right? That folder, and convert that to Blazor, and swap out that folder so that instead it's using Blazor. The trick that you're going to run into, the problem you're going to run into, is managing security across security and state across from WebForms into the ASP.NET Core application. I don't have an answer for that off the top of my head. If you're storing that information server side, not using a state provider that comes with WebForms, but if you store that just flat in the database and you're able to fetch and retrieve that data and present and have that state information available to you, that's going to go a long way, because session is not compatible with ASP.NET Core. You would have separate app pools. You're right, Elliot. So when you jumped from WebForms over to ASP.NET Core and Blazor, you're actually leaving one application and going into the other. However, because it's hosted on the same web server, you would still pass the same cookie information. So if all of your authentication information is stored in a common shared server, and I'm thinking like identity server in the background, you might be able to have that properly jump from one server, one application to the next. But I would want to prototype that a little bit. There's definitely something. Coding stocks, very good point. A Redis cache. Any kind of data storage. Redis is a good example, but any kind of external data storage that you can access from both applications is going to help you solve that problem. But that jump from one to the other, I would want to prototype there. There's something there that chat room, it just doesn't feel right. There's a complexity there that I would want to spend time exploring and make sure that I got right, because that transition between the applications that you're trying to deploy is going to either make it a really smooth experience and your customers, your users are going to say, oh my gosh, this is great, or they're going to say, what the heck happened? I clicked into the customer management area and the application blew up. It's not the same. What the heck happened? That transition, making that smooth transition between the two applications so that your visitors, your users don't recognize it, that's important. That's important, and I would want to do something with that. Oh, Evan, that's a very good point. Oh my gosh. Evan makes a very good point here in the chat room. Let me put that up so that folks can see this. If you're using Windows authentication for your WebForms application, you can use Windows authentication also in ASP.NET Core. It's normal for an internal business app to be able to just have it pass authentication. It is a huge concern, but that session state, managing that session when you go from the one application to the next, so it still maintains, here's what you were working on, it is going to be a little bit of a bear. But if you're getting all the information about your users from your Windows authentication provider, whether it's Azure Active Directory, your local Active Directory, you'll be in great shape. I hadn't thought about that, Evan. Thank you for pointing that out. Here, let me tell you what. Let me do this. Mario coins for you. There you go. I'm not sure what you can do with them. So Electro, here's what I would suggest. There's a couple things going on here that I would suggest, and I would ask for a little bit of your help. We have an issues area here for this project, and there's a couple of items that we're labeling as use case, and this kind of fits in a little bit with Mobabo's comment there. If you head over to this issues location, there we go. That's not the no, not that issue. That issue. What did you do? You want me to you want me to be the Mad Titan for a couple minutes here? We'll do that. Give me 1 second. Let me finish answering this question. Thank you for the redemption. If you check out the issues, create a use case that talks about. Let's actually create one around what you're describing there, Electro. I'd really appreciate, just wander over here, You click New Issue. There's a template for a use case. You can see how Julio created one here for issue 127 and talk about what that is. And maybe we write a sample here on a stream in the next couple weeks, or even offline, maybe somebody writes a sample. There's a samples area in this project where we're talking about migration and how that works. It's down here in the documentation where we talk about migration. And we're going to put some samples in here and some documentation about how to do migration. And I think your use case that you're talking about, how do I migrate parts of a larger application, is something that we should definitely address here. So, with respect, would you mind just opening a quick issue there describing, hey, how do I migrate a larger application piecemeal in steps? And we'll see what we can do to get together a little bit of sample documentation. Thank you for that question. That was Electro. That really, you've opened my eyes to a scenario that I hadn't quite considered. Thank you for the follow, JBH630. Welcome in. So there's a lot there and a lot to this, and I think I've been focused on getting the user interface migrated, getting that capable. You're very welcome, Electro, and I hope you tune in a little bit as we continue to build and work on the project. We've got a bunch of folks that are working on it, and certainly if you want to help create open issues around things that you need help with, or suggest features, which kind of feeds into the comment here from Mobabo. Let me put that up. Is there any way to vote for features? I don't have a vote for features area set up. What I would ask is, if there's a feature that you need, that you're interested in having me work on, create an issue here and mark it with enhancement, and we can definitely target and start focusing on those. I think, isn't there a way to put a yeah, you can put responses on it with the little reactions here, and we'll prioritize and push things up higher. But yeah, as Eagle's pointing out, create an issue to indicate the things that you want, and we can certainly move those a little bit earlier in the stack of features here that we're working on. And as always, as every open source project will say, pull requests are open. If there's something that you'd like to help out with, something you'd like to nudge along, send over a pull request. Even if it's documentation, send over a little bit of a pull request and we can absolutely work on that. Evan says, I know with our internal common code pile, we're actually migrating that code base on an as-needed basis as we rebuild apps in Blazor. Oh, that's cool. The old code base is shot through with references to things like System Service Model, WCF, and System Web, so it can't really be ported over wholesale. So, Evan, what I suggest in the documents here is, thank you for the follow. Who's our new follow? The Unknown You. Thank you for that. Take your business logic. Separate your business logic. This is going to be good for the architecture and health of your application. Take your business logic and get it moved out into a class library that you can make a .NET standard class library. Just that little bit of refactoring and getting it separated is going to help you migrate to the new framework. Thank you for the follow, Electro. I appreciate that. Doing that separation, it should still work in web forms, and it will work in ASP.NET Core, having that separation, so you're not directly referencing WCF, you're not directly referencing System Web. Those business logic things you put somewhere else, and it'll slim down the amount of code that you need to port, that you need to migrate, because you won't be migrating code that's directly hooked up to button presses and filling combo boxes or grids. Those things that say, here's how you get the data for those, are out inside of another library that will be able to be migrated directly with no code changes. And like I said, it'll help a little bit with your code hygiene for your application, because you'll have that nice separation of layers where your business logic, your data fetch operations even, are somewhere else, somewhere that's a little bit isolated and easier to work through. C17, that is a fantastic idea. Any thoughts of revisiting the CoreWiki project and converting the front end to Blazor? That is a really cool idea. Yeah, let's talk about that. as we get through this project, and I expect speed to pick up a little bit as more folks are coming online to help out. But we can probably step away for a week or two and rewrite the front end to CoreWiki with Blazor. That would be a lot of fun to do. Definitely. CoreWiki is an older project that we were working on here to build a simple wiki application using ASP.NET Core. However, we got way wrapped up in high-end architecture concepts using DDD and CQRS, and it made the code quite difficult to read because of how complex an architecture we tried to support. So, all right, let me head back over. I need to change into the Mad Titan for a little bit here. I think this is merged nicely. Our samples that we have for this looks appropriate. When we merge this into our FormView branch, that FormView feature should light up. So, what I'm going to do is I already pushed this up. I'm going to jump over to that, I should be able to just, right? Jump across. Yeah, I'm in FormView. So let's merge feature sample deployment. And I've got a little merge error there in nav menu. Gee, I guess what it was. Before I do that merge, I'm going to honor the request to become the Mad Titan here. Darn it! Why isn't VoiceMod behaving? It's sitting there. It says it's running, but it's not. That's not right. I see this thing running in the console and in the system tray, and I think, oh, it's running. No big deal. Nope. We'll get this converted. Here we go. Not converted. We'll get this running. Blowing vape rings? I try to have this running ahead of time so I don't have to go through and make you watch me getting this all up and running. There we go. Now I can do voice mod. And here we
go. Let's put 5 minutes on the clock. For the Mad Titan. That's not it. That is. Yes. And there we go. Boom. Alright. Welcome in, friends. We've got way too much code. We need to make half of it disappear. Oh yes, C# Fritz is mad. I'm angry. And, to be quite frank, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. So, let's fix this merge. I don't like merge conflicts. We're gonna make this work. I need to get back here. Alright, VIP. And we're gonna go share, right? Nav menu. Where is it? Don't you dare. It did. Those line endings. Unacceptable. Gonna put them to bed. Get rid of them. I don't need this. Where's my FormView reference? It's up here somewhere. I know it is. Data components, editor components, alright. FormView, there it is. Let me bring the grid view up here. Let's do that. I'm gonna get rid of the head marker. Get rid of this. Oh yes, when I snap my fingers, half the bugs gone. No, doesn't happen. Doesn't work that way. I wish it did. No. This is what a genocidal maniac sounds like while they're navigating code. Ah, grid view. Here it is. I'm gonna grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. 5, yank those lines. Up here, we're going to put it just above the list view. Right there. Boom. Alright, end of the line. Make those line endings go away. Oh no, what happened now? Hamsters! We don't like hamsters. I see what you're doing to me. .NET Kyle dares to ask tabs or spaces. We like tabs. Tabs can be adjusted for everybody everywhere, while spaces are very, very precise. You always have the same amount of space when you change font. Those spaces change also. When you have a larger monitor, those spaces, well, they make things really, really small. Maybe you need larger fonts. Maybe you can't see the screen very well because you've got eye problems. How do we do that? How do we get around that? We need to be able to offer flexible rendering of our code. How do we do that? Tabs. Tabs will always be a tab, and you're allowing whoever's reading your code to specify how wide they'd like that tab to be. So, that's why we like tabs. Let me write out that nav menu, and let's see. It's gonna rebuild my sample here. Is it gonna work? Let's go. Yes. Alright, we've got our sample working. Refresh. And now I have FormView and GridView. We should light up FormView over here while we're working. But I'm going to finish my merge first. There we go. Alright. It's just the nav menu. That. Yeah. Merged. Sample deployment. There we go. And I'll push up those changes. Only half that might cause major issues, says .NET Kyle. Maybe. It could. Oh gosh. The Mad Titan is complete. But we have another request. This time,
it's hamster mode. Sanity? You ask me about sanity while I sound like this. No, there is no sanity. Oh, no. Given that client-side Blazor app is WebAssembly, it's just some static assets on the back-end server, and it can be anything you'd like. Could you move pages from an ASP.NET framework site over to client-side Blazor by having the app hosted as static files served by IIS under the same site? Yes, you could. Absolutely. Sharp. Bye-bye. This annoys some folks. I hear ya. But it's fun. It's only 4 minutes. Alright. Static hosting for life. There you go. Zach Davis knows what we're talking about. Let me see if we can put, hey. Thank you. I wanted to put a link to the form view in the middle of our samples. Where'd it go? I think is it pages? Is that what it is? component list. That's it. Alright. So FormView right here. That page we want to go here. We'll go to that location. Alright. And we'll just update the sample. Easy. Go back. Too much. Alright, now we got a link for our form view in the middle. Attempting to reconnect, you better reconnect! Angry hamsters, what can I tell you? That should be like hamster dance, just angry hamsters. I can put the music back on in the background. This is green. I like green. Green is good. There we go. And if I go back to the home page, now I've got form view, and there's my form. What are you doing? You want to go for 5 more minutes like this? We're running up against the end of time here. The end of our time together. We can go for 5 minutes more. Maybe. Just maybe.
Oh my.
There we go. Alright. So we've got our form view samples, and they're doing the thing, and they look nice. Added form view link to the control component list on the sample home page. There we go. Push that out. There we go. And over here, do the thing. Eagle says, I'm not sure Carl Franklin approves of a hipster voice over his music. I don't know what you're talking about. What? Hipster things. Or when I was dressed as a squirrel for a day, that was a thing. Totally a thing. Alright. Let's, there was a thing, I forget where we left off with the form view. And if I get log, I'm going to see all the merges that have happened. Oh, no. Alright. Yeah, I can't see clearly what's only in my branch. Yeah, at least the chipmunk music isn't playing in the background. Alright, let's think this through. What can we do? Well... Where's that button? Oh gosh, that's the end of hamster mode. Except that it isn't. Right? We're gonna go for 5 more. Alright. Upset hamster. Alright, here we go. 5 more minutes. And nobody... Don't tell the bosses that I'm over here as a hamster. It's bad enough they heard about me as a squirrel. Alright, let's see. Yeah, okay, we're good. Trollolo? Oh, you mean this guy? There he is. Right? Yeah. No, don't do that. Oh my goodness, don't do that. That's even worse. If you get enough hamsters on enough keyboards, do you end up with the complete works of the .NET framework on the CLR, like monkeys and Shakespeare? No. You get .NET Core. Anyways, let's go over. That's not the right. No, I'm in the wrong. Over here. Alright. Source. Yeah. Alright. FormView. There we go. I've been trying to get into this thing for weeks. That's where I want to be. Alright. You confuse the bot. It happens. Why did it? Not clear. Alright. So this is the form view for now, right? It's outputting a pager, and here's our item template up here. So we just have an item template. We don't have that mode yet. We don't have the ability to change from read mode to edit mode, and that's the next piece, right? Yeah. So there's a mode here with this, isn't there? No. This one. There we go. So I have a form view. Here's all the logic to run the serious hamster voice. Very serious. We're gonna get things done. There's a mode here. Mode changing. There it is. And the idea is we want to change modes when we receive a notification from that button to change modes. So there's an attribute for the mode, isn't there? Let's go back over right here. Form view. Mode. Default mode. On mode changed, on mode changing. Thank you for the follow, Creador de Mundos. Welcome in. Fritz! JAF 1021 is here.
Hey, Mom! Can we get some meatloaf? We want it now! The meatloaf!
Doing? I never know what she's doing.
She's sheltering in place. She's on quarantine so that she doesn't get sick. Good to see you, Mom. Hello! No Pogo is here as well. So good to see you. No Pogo is another member of the Live Coders team. A little bit of coffee. Gotta have some coffee. Alright, where is... pager settings now. There's a default mode there. But isn't there like a property mode? Oh, we're done with the hamsters. Oh, shucks. Time's up. You know? Fun ends.
And we go back to real chatting and having a good time. You don't know what I'm doing. I'm writing code, Mom. I'm teaching folks about software. We're talking about, we're building a form, like a data entry form, that folks can fill out here using this FormView component. This is the original source code for it, Mom. Because Mom, I know Mom likes to read source code, right? But Mom loves reading source code.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Actually, I don't think she does. My mom, here's the thing. Huge respect for my mom. Huge respect, because my father, I've mentioned here before, my father taught me a lot of what I know about Linux, about Unix, about VI. Tremendous technologist. And here, as I'm growing up, here's my father, systems administrator, knows all these things about Unix, and has taught me BASIC, the basic programming language on a Commodore 64. There's a picture on the blog if you want to go laugh at what 10-year-old Jeff looks like. Anyways, so and here, I'm a budding software developer getting into high school, into college, and my dad's a systems administrator. And around the dinner table, we're talking tech, like it's like two peas in a pod about things. And my mother's non-technical, and that's fine. My mother was a school teacher, tremendous job teaching students for many, many years, and when it came time, as we're trying to discuss things between my father and I, when it came time to try and explain something so that my mother would understand and appreciate it, I learned very quickly how to simplify a little bit of what I'm talking about. Where we might talk about tags and markup here, right? I would shorten some of that and explain to my mother, hey, well, we write a little bit of stuff, a little bit of code here that formats what we're going to output on a web page, right? I don't need to get into its markup, its HTML, it does this. But I learned how to explain things to somebody who wasn't by trade technical. And what my mother was doing was teaching me how to teach other people. And that's something that I think is a very valuable skill that many of us in the tech industry, when it comes to explaining things to folks who aren't technical, to folks who don't use our favorite programming language and our favorite framework, when you can simplify and explain it to those folks who aren't everyday users of those tools and technologies, it's going to help you encourage and get those folks interested in understanding what it is you're working on. She's done a wonderful job, says Kelly28. See that, Mom? They like you there, right? Huh? What do you think? See that? Thank you. Someone redeemed channel points for the voice changer. Yes, they did. Tech was banned from the dinner table in Simon's house. With a sister in quality assurance, a brother in networking, Simon as a developer, your father was IT. Oh my gosh. Yes. There, absolutely. My gosh, I could guess the arguments you'd have. Whoo! You've got a scheduled work from home call. Take care, .NET Kyle. So here's our form view. I thought there was a method, a property here for the mode, right? The form mode. There's no, I don't care about that. We're not using it. We don't have a designer to work on here. There isn't form mode. Show me mode. Insert item template. That's what we want to do. Is using model binders? I didn't know that was a thing. Item template is what we do support. Validate request mode. View state mode. That's a bad one. Let's get away from there. Change mode switches the form view control to the specified data entry mode. I don't know if I want to support that, but we may end up having to do it. Model on mode change. So these are the events that we already support, but we don't we have those events. They're in the component here or not. I have mode changing, but I don't have the on mode changed. That's not right. That's not right. There's on bubble event. We have on bubble event. That's a thing. You're blushing. Yes, ancient coder, absolutely. Much respect to all the moms, to all the teachers, even this guy.
Mr. Blutarski.
No, not Mr. Blutarski.
0.0.
He wasn't a very good student. No. So, let me see here. So I have model mode changing. But I didn't wire up those other events. I thought I had those other events somewhere. See this? Isn't this always the first problem? Where did I leave off? So if I want to change right? There was a sample. Oh my gosh. Wasn't there a sample here? Thank you for the follow. Mo Lashane, welcome in. Thank you so much. I thought there was a FormView sample. Oh, it's up here. Thank you for the follow. I'm not going to read that one. Sorry. Try and keep things family friendly here, but I appreciate you joining us. Explain to someone else something that you're learning. They get a basic grasp of it, then it shows your understanding of the topic. Amen. That is a great tip for new students, Copperbeardy. Let me put that up so folks, because I kind of mumbled through it. Yes. So, what we typically see, let me see if I can find a good form view here that we can copy, that we can use. I don't like all this code. That's way too much code. But there's mode changing. So form view, a header, an item template. I think, isn't there a footer down here somewhere? Edit item template. There we go. Yes, there is no footer. It's just at the bottom. But see, it has a command name. There's our, see the button? Ha ha! Oh, that's a link button. Well, and then we might need to build a link button too. And that'd be annoying. That'd be really annoying. I don't want to build a link button. I might have to build a link button. Do I really need to build a link button? I don't want to build a link button. I'm going to have to build a link button, aren't I? We are so close to that 12-hour party. 43 followers to go. Tell your friends. Tell your families. Tell your pets. Follow me on Twitch. All right. But this is the feature right here that we're trying to support, is when you click this link button, it should change modes automatically into edit mode because that edit happened. You told your cat, oh, fantastic. Curious Drive's cat's going to sign up and follow us on Twitch. That's a good thing. I think you're right, Simon. I think you're right. Thank you for the follow, Mataz? Is that how you pronounce that? Welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Let's do this. Migrate state piece. Oh, there it was. Thank you. I saw Electro's issue there. We need to create a link button. Create a link button component. And you're right, it should be almost identical in features. Should have identical features to the button component, except rendering a hyperlink instead of a button tag, right? I'm going to mark this as, this is of course an enhancement. I'll mark it as help wanted. I'm not sure if it's a good first issue, but we'll mark that. And maybe this is something I could take care of offline, or I don't know. If somebody wants to take this, you're welcome to do that. No, Simon, I think you're actually quite right. Simon, I think you're very close. I think it's just a change in the tag so that we get a hyperlink instead of a button to click on. I think you're spot on there. So much so that I think I need to edit a link button to my list of features here that we want to be sure to support. Right? I think we need to have link button there. Form view and grid view will pop through when we're finished those. Added link button to the list of features. There we go. All right. So that's a thing. Okay. I'm out of time, but we've got everything lined up. We've got our samples working. I think we know where to pick up next time. So let me stop the music. Let me head over to the Mario music. Oh my goodness! Thank you for the follow, Harish. Harish Shenham, oh my gosh. Welcome in, Harish. Good to see you. And you're catching me right at the end here. Icarus Complex. Didn't even think about your username being offensive. No, thank you. Is that Ido Senus? Welcome. You're catching me right as I'm wrapping up here. We merged a whole bunch of code that we had so that we could get back and working on our FormView Blazor component. These are components that are designed to help make migrating from web forms, from the old ASP.NET Web Forms technology. We're going to make it real easy for folks to get on the bandwagon and start using Blazor, the new component-based technology that folks can use. That's not indented, right? That looks terrible. What the heck? Who would write that terribly ugly? That's the way it's supposed to be formatted there, friend. Why isn't it? Right? That's how it should look, right? Preview. That's not right. I'm going to leave that there because I'm not going to dink around with that. Thank you for the follow. Is that Zephyrum Nick? Welcome in. Need a double space after the previous point. A double space? What do you mean a double space? It should just fit in there, right? Because... right, that should just work. There, that's better. I did it with spaces, darn it. Fixed spaces on link button. There we go. Commit that in, and it'll look better. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate you joining me. This video, like all my other videos, will be available over on YouTube. I'm backed up. I know I haven't gotten any out there in a few days. I have a ton of videos to publish for you. Let's see who else is streaming over there on Twitch and who we can support with a raid. Oh my gosh. You know who's starting that we can support? Thank you for the follow, Zaid Ajaj. Welcome in. You know who's starting up that would be really great to support? And I rarely get to raid him when he's doing his stream on a Thursday like this. No. Yeah, I rarely get to raid him. Let's raid CodePhobia. He's working on a real estate website with Angular. If you're a subscriber, there's a raid call that just went out there in the chat room. Copy the first line of text, and it's right there. Copy that first line of text, get it onto your clipboard. If you're not a subscriber, that's okay. Grab the second line of text, copy that onto your clipboard. We're going to be heading over to see CodePhobia. They're another member of the Live Coders team. There's the raid. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow back at regular time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, 1400 UTC. We'll be writing some code together on Friday. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. Say hello to CodePhobia for me, and look forward to writing some code with you tomorrow.